Hey everybody on YouTube, this is Kyle Snyder once again, aka Clipton, and this is my week 2 picks of the 2012 NFL season. Our first game we have is going to be the Chicago Bears versus the Green Bay Packers. That's the Thursday night game. It could go either way. I'm going with the Green Bay Packers just because they're going to want revenge for losing to San Francisco, and of course the Bears are obviously going to put up one heck of a fight. I expect the Bears to play well defensively, just like they did against the Colts on Sunday, and we'll see what happens. The Packers are my pick. Next up, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the New York Giants. The Giants are obviously looking for revenge as well for losing the season opener to the Cowboys, so obviously I'm going with the New York Giants. Hopefully they'll win, otherwise the Bucs are going to be a threat to a lot of teams this season. Let's see, next up we have the Oakland Raiders versus Miami Dolphins. Two teams that aren't really known for winning a whole lot of games lately. But I'm going to go with the Oakland Raiders because they seem to look a lot better on the offense than the Miami Dolphins do. I mean, Ryan Tannehill, all he does is like throw, tipped, intercepted. Throw, tipped, intercepted. The Raiders don't really have that problem frequently as far as I see. So I'm giving it to the Oakland Raiders to win this one. Next up, we have the Houston Texans at Jacksonville Jaguars. This is an easy one. The Houston Texans, of course. The Jaguars obviously could not get it done in overtime against the Minnesota Vikings, and obviously the Vikings, the reason the Vikings won was because of their kicker and Adrian Peterson coming through. And obviously the Texans are going to destroy the Jaguars just like they destroyed the Dolphins. So the Houston Texans are going to beat the Jaguars. Next up, we got the Cleveland Browns versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Two teams that are going to be at the bottom of the AFC North this season. So it's like they're probably going to split the series. Cleveland's going to win one and Cincinnati's going to win one this season. So I think this time it's going to be Cincinnati that's going to win it. Because Brandon Whedon, he is very horrible. I mean, throwing 4 picks and no touchdowns. It's like the only touchdown that came against the Eagles was on defense. And it's like, if you're going to blame Cleveland for the loss against the Eagles, do not blame it on their defense. Okay, it was purely their offense that lost it for them. But anyways, I'm betting the Bengals are going to win, but this could go either way. Alright, next up we have the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Buffalo Bills. Very hard to predict, but I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills because they are going to have the home field advantage. This is another game that could go either way. Obviously, both of these two teams got absolutely destroyed in week 1. Kansas City to the Atlanta Falcons, Buffalo to the New York Jets, so I'm going with the Buffalo Bills because they seem to put up a lot more points than the Chiefs did. So that's my pick. Next up, we got the Baltimore Ravens versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens because they are much better on the defense, and their no-huddle offense approach seems to be working just like it worked against Cincinnati. Baltimore Ravens are my pick. Next up, we got the New Orleans Saints versus the Carolina Panthers, a division rivalry. Both teams obviously looking for revenge from their Week 1 loss. But I'm giving the edge to the New Orleans Saints because they have a much better offense. Obviously, the defense is still in question. So, yeah, the New Orleans Saints are going to have to... They're really going to have to score a lot on their offensive drives if they're going to beat the Carolina Panthers. Next up, we got the Arizona Cardinals versus New England Patriots. New England, of course, because they are an offensive powerhouse, and they almost always win. I mean, they are going to have a few losses this season, just like they do every season except the 2007 season. So the New England Patriots are going to win against the Arizona Cardinals. Let's see, next up we got the Minnesota Vikings versus the Indianapolis Colts. And I'm actually going to give this one to the Indianapolis Colts because all the Minnesota Vikings have for them is their kicker and Adrian Peterson. And if the Colts can hold both of them off, then they're no doubt going to win against the Minnesota Vikings. Because the Vikings secondary doesn't seem to be that good. I mean, obviously Andrew Luck had a rough time against the Chicago Bears, but it's reasonable why he did have a tough time against the Bears, because the Bears are a very hard team to beat when they're at full strength. And I expect that the Colts are going to beat the Minnesota Vikings. Next up, we have the Washington Redskins versus the St. Louis Rams. RG3 is going to continue showing why he was the number 2 pick and why he should have been the number 1 pick. You know, the St. Louis Rams, they can make all the excuses they want, but at the end of the day, they are just not a good enough team to win a game. So the Washington Redskins are going to win this one, and I believe they are going to prove why they are a playoff contender this season. Next up, we got the Dallas Cowboys versus the Seattle Seahawks. The Dallas Cowboys are my pick. Obviously, they're going to have a tough time because the game's going to be played at Seattle, and a lot of teams have a tough time playing at Seattle because that football field is the noisiest in all the football fields in the NFL. So the Cowboys, I'd expect they're going to commit a lot of false start penalties and neutral zone infraction penalties, but in the end, they're barely going to pull it off. So the Dallas Cowboys are my pick. Next up, we got the New York Jets versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is going to be a highly defensive game, but I believe the New York Jets are going to win it because they appear to be a lot hungrier than the Pittsburgh Steelers this season for victories. And the New York Jets obviously have the weapons they need to make it to the playoffs. It's all a matter of how bad they want it and how bad the Steelers want it as well. But my pick is going to be the New York Jets because I believe they want the victory more than the Pittsburgh Steelers do. Next up, we got the Tennessee Titans versus the San Diego Chargers. And I believe the San Diego Chargers are going to be victorious over the Tennessee Titans, just like they were victorious over the Oakland Raiders. And the Titans, while they may look good, looks can be deceiving, and the San Diego Chargers are one of those teams that are hungry to once again rise back to the greatness that they once were at, that they were once a playoff team on a regular basis. So the Chargers are my pick to win it. Then we got our Sunday night game, the Detroit Lions versus the San Francisco 49ers. Both of these teams won their week 1 games. You know, the Detroit Lions, they barely won at the last second. San Francisco 49ers shocked the entire NFL by dominating the Green Bay Packers. But I believe the San Francisco 49ers are going to show everyone why they made it to the NFC Championship game last season. And they're going to show it to the Detroit Lions. They are going to defeat the Detroit Lions. And I'm guessing that it's going to be by 2 touchdowns. But who can say? Alright, and finally we got our Monday Night Football game, the Denver Broncos versus the Atlanta Falcons. 2 teams that are very strong on offense. You know, obviously the Atlanta Falcons have some really good receivers. The Denver Broncos, they got some good weapons during the offseason, you know, with Peyton Manning, with Jacob Tamme, and a few others. As for their defenses, you know, I think the Broncos have the slight edge on defense. And I'm obviously going to go with the Denver Broncos to win this one, even though the Atlanta Falcons are going to have the home field advantage. You know, they almost always win at home on a regular basis, but I believe this is going to be the one exception where the Atlanta Falcons are going to lose at home. and the Denver Broncos are going to go 2-0, and they'll prove why they deserve to be in the playoffs again this season. So those are my picks for week 2. Let's see how we do. Well, I mean, last week I was 11-5, so hopefully this week I'll be 16-0, but who can say? So those are my picks. Thanks for watching, and we'll see what happens. Thanks for watching.